Welcome to the Crazy Alchemist podcast, where alchemy, occultism, and strange history come alive.
Croesus of Lydia asked whether he should go to war. The oracle answered, if he campaigned against the Persians, he would destroy a great empire. He crossed the Halys River into Persian territory, fought Cyrus the Great, and lost everything. His capital fell, his kingdom was absorbed. When he complained that the oracle had misled him, the priests replied that it had not. The great empire destroyed was his own. He had simply assumed it would be someone else's. The Delphic oracle operated for close to 1,000 years. Kings consulted it before going to war. Cities asked permission to found new colonies. The general who failed to consult Delphi before a major campaign was considered reckless in a specific religious sense, not merely imprudent. The oracle's power resided in a woman. The Pythia was not a single person. The title was held by a succession of women, with up to 3 serving simultaneously at the peak. 2 alternated in delivering prophecies, a 3rd remained in reserve. She was chosen from among the women of Delphi based on good character. She was not required to come from a noble family. Early in the oracle's history, the role required a young virgin. After Pythia was abducted and assaulted by a Thessalian visitor in the late 3rd century BC, the temple began selecting women over 50 instead. They still dressed as young maidens. On consultation days, she fasted and bathed in the Croesus spring within the sanctuary grounds. She descended into the Eidaton, a small chamber below the main floor of the Temple of Apollo, and seated herself on a bronze tripod. She held laurel leaves and wore a laurel wreath. Consultants posed their questions through priests, who relayed the responses. Plutarch, who served as a priest at Delphi, wrote that the Pythia emerged from sessions like a runner after a race. He also wrote that her life was shortened by the service. Delphi sits on the southern slope of Mount Parnassus. The cliffs above are enormous. The valley below drops away toward the Gulf of Corinth. The site had been associated with Earth before Apollo arrived. The myth says Python, a she-dragon, guarded the place since before Apollo was born. Apollo killed it, claimed the oracle, and gave the priestess her name. The Pythia is named after the slain serpent. The place was called Pytho, from the Greek word for rotting, because of the creature's body. In 2001, geologist Jelly Zelinga de Boer and archaeologist John Hale published a paper in the journal Geology. They had identified 2 fault systems intersecting directly beneath the Temple of Apollo. At the point of intersection, tectonic friction heats bituminous limestone and releases light hydrocarbon gases. Their samples from the site contained ethylene, ethane, and methane. Ethylene was used as a surgical anesthetic in the mid-20th century. At low concentrations, it produces euphoria, dissociation, and altered speech. At higher concentrations, convulsions and unconsciousness. The ancient descriptions of the Pythia's behavior, the altered state, the disconnected utterances, the physical toll, fit mild ethylene exposure in an enclosed space. In 2002, toxicologist Henry Spiller joined them to publish a clinical analysis. Other researchers have since visited Delphi with gas detection equipment and found no measurable ethylene. The debate is not closed. What the 2001 paper definitively recovered was the ancient testimony itself. Earlier excavators had found no chasm in the floor and concluded the whole gas story was legend. De Boer and Hale showed that hydrocarbon emissions from bituminous limestone need no volcano. The right geology and the right fault suffice. Between roughly 750 and 550 BC, Greek city-states founded colonies across the Mediterranean and Black Sea, Sicily, southern Italy, North Africa, the coasts of what are now France, Spain, and Ukraine. Founding a colony was a religious act. Consulting Delphi before establishing one was effectively required. Herodotus records the Spartan Dorius, who founded colonies without asking the oracle. They failed. Cyrene in North Africa and Syracuse in Sicily consulted Delphi first. This made Delphi something more than a religious institution. It had access to information from across the Greek world, travelers, merchants, ambassadors from every direction. Its advice on where to settle, which season to choose, and which local people to negotiate with drew on accumulated knowledge. Before the Persian Wars, the Athenians asked the oracle how to survive the invasion. The response referred to a wall of wood. One faction read it as the wooden palisade of the Acropolis. Themistocles argued it meant the fleet. Athens built ships. At the Battle of Salamis in 480 BC, the Persian navy was destroyed in the straits. The wooden wall held. At the center of the inner chamber stood a stone marked as the navel of the world, the omphalos. Zeus had released two eagles simultaneously from opposite ends of the earth to find the center. They met at Delphi. The stone sat there throughout the oracle's history. Pausanias, the 2nd century geographer, described it wrapped in wool netting with two golden eagles. A carved marble omphalos is in the Delphi Archaeological Museum today. Whether it is the original or a copy is debated. The most valuable witness to how the oracle worked is someone who was there when it was already failing. Plutarch of Chaeronea served as a priest of Apollo at Delphi during the 1st and 2nd century CE. He wrote several dialogues set at the sanctuary, not devotional texts, but philosophical arguments about what the oracle was and why it seemed to be weakening. By his time, the number of Pythia had dropped from 3 to 1. The pneuma, the divine breath, had grown weaker. Plutarch's character Lamprias proposed that the spirit acts on the Pythia the way sunlight acts on a prism. She's the medium through which it passes, and the medium must be properly prepared. Plutarch's dialogues present several arguments and settle none of them. In 362 CE, the Emperor Julian sent his physician Oribasius to Delphi to renew the oracle. Julian was trying to reverse the Christianization of the empire. The Pythia's response, preserved by the Christian historian Philostorgius, "Tell the emperor that the Daedalic hall has fallen. No longer does Phoebus have his chamber, nor mantic laurel, nor prophetic spring, and the speaking water has been silenced." Julian died the following year on campaign in Persia. The sanctuary was formally closed in the 390s CE when Theodosius banned pagan religious practice. A Christian community settled over the ruins. A village called Castri grew there in the 7th century and stayed until the 19th century when archaeologists arrived and had to negotiate its removal before they could dig. The Delphi Archaeological Museum opened in 1903. The charioteer of Delphi stands in it, a bronze figure commissioned around 478 BC by Polyzalus of Gela to mark a victory in the Pythian Games. His glass eyes, inlaid when he was cast, still look forward. If you want to read the full article with the FAQ, the sources, and the images, it's at crazyalchemist.com. We cover myths, ancient history, and the places where the two are hard to separate. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe wherever you listen.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to visit crazyalchemist.com for more intriguing content and follow Crazy Alchemist on Instagram and Facebook to stay connected.